What's going on, YouTube? It's me, Jeffrey, again. Today we're doing another gaming creepypasta. And that's why I said gaming, and it's a Super Mario World creepypasta called I Hate You. And what's even cooler is that this creepypasta has actual pictures as well as a ROM hack that you can actually get on Game Jolt or Super Mario W Central. So, aside from that, let's just get to the story, shall we? This isn't one of those haunted game stories. At no point are you going to hear me claim something within the words that the game spoke to me, reacting to my words, or force me to punch myself repeatedly in the face. No, this isn't about a haunted game or a game doing something impossible or even something it shouldn't have. This isn't about a glitch or a hidden satanic message, and at no time did I phone Nintendo headquarters only to have my questions answered with hushed whispers or anguished screams. This story is about a game feature I don't think anyone else has unlocked. That's it. No ghosts, no conspiracies, just a secret we were all supposed to find but never did. Something that changes an entire generation's childhood and the very essence of a multi-million, billion-dollar franchise. This is what I assumed to be a previously undiscovered alternate ending of Super Mario World for the Super Nintendo. In the year 1996, I received my first PC as a birthday gift. I've been on the internet before, having used computers before, but it had always been in the school or at a friend's house. This one was mine. All mine. I explored the crude prehistoric web at the time with great interest. I downloaded all sorts of stuff and even printed it out, which absolutely made no sense. I also pirated media like a madman. Music, games, anything. This was where I first discovered Super Mario World. I never had a Super Nintendo as a little kid, so it was all new to me. I downloaded tons of games along with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System emulator, but Mario World was my favorite. For over a decade, the same Mario World ROM was my time-wasting hobby. I played it over and over again, beating the game faster and faster until I began to lazily explore the world with no purpose at all. Game Genie codes helped immensely. I could turn off the timer and relive a particularly entertaining map for over an hour as I waited for a download or any number of boring events. It was in this manner that I have beaten and re-beaten the game thousands upon thousands of times. There was comfort in the obsessive-compulsive behavior of this routine, but all that shattered when I saw the Blind Boo. The Blind Boo, as I referred to it, was hovering over the exit from the haunted sunken ship level later on in the game. I called it blind because it actually had no visible eyes. It was like someone had made a lazy ROM hack. But I knew from years of experience that this was just a normal game. The Blind Boo just hung there over the exit pipe, blocking it. I turned my back on it, but it didn't chase me. How could it? It didn't even see me. Then I noticed something else out of sorts. There was a key and keyhole misplaced above the exit. Keys and keyholes are such of ways of ending a level in an alternative manner and discovering a secret area. Still, this did not belong there, and I knew it. For a moment, I considered the fact that I actually broken a ROM file from overuse. After taking a screenshot specifically to show all you Super Mario Bros. Fans out there, I picked up the key, opened the door, figuring out the game was seized up and I'd have to restart. However, instead, it opens up a new path on the map selection screen. A whirlpool next to Bowser's already creepy head cave thing. I press this right arrow on my keyboard and move onto the whirling drain. Oh god, no. This didn't strike me at all, because if you're familiar with the Super Mario World game, there's an area called Star Road that you may know have similar names. Just stuff like tubular and awesome and all that manner of dumb words and phrases. Most of the areas were called Vanilla Forest 1 and Donut Mountain 3. All that. But there were maps with odd names like that. What did concern me though was Mario's expression. Surprise? Shock? Fear? I entered this map. Oddly enough, the whirlpool in the middle of the lake began with the standard castle entry animation. Mario walked up to the castle door, looked up, and went in. I could tell it was underwater, though, because of the bubbles that periodically emerged from the sprite's mouth and floated to the top of the screen. Inside the castle, it started to look more and more like I was in fact experiencing a glitch. There was no room to jump, no room to do anything, but run left and right. I must have gone right for 10 to 20 minutes, just holding the B button and running along at full speed. After a while, I ran into 1 or 2 blind boos in the darkness above, then 3 or 4. Then the screen was full of them. They just hung there doing nothing. They didn't even chase me if I turned my back, as if the previous blind boo wouldn't. If I made any noise like Mario's jumping sound, they would all just shudder a bit, like they heard the sound of Mario's movements but couldn't do anything about it. Then Sun made me stop and turn the other way. Now, I knew beyond a shadow of doubt that this map was not specifically designed to screw around with the player. Not because of the giant bleeding bill was hemorrhaging profusely from the face, but it was because it was inescapable. There was literally no way to avoid being killed by it, as you can see above. That is, unless you are like me and have the game cheaty codes on hand. I switched on the code for permanent invincibility. I let the bleeding bill chase me for a while when I was invincible just to get a good look at the thing. I stopped and killed it with my invulnerable touch. Only when I saw a message that hadn't been there when I passed before. I hate you. That kind of creeped me out, but on the other hand, it was kind of interesting because it was meant that this was definitely a map that was supposed to exist. There was some sort of plot element here, something undiscovered. What did it mean? Who hated me? King Koopa seemed the obvious answer, or maybe just the ghosts. When you're in a haunted castle that you found by the way of a haunted ship, a bloody-looking hate message isn't so unbelievable. I saw it again as I approached some giant boos. I was thankful that the blind boos ended at this point, because the more I watched them shudder, the more uneasier I felt, almost empathetic towards them. The thankfulness ended when I turned my back on the giant boos and this happened. The giant boos with faces I hadn't seen before, they always looked mad when they were awakened, angry that you were invading their haunted houses across the Mario World island. This was different. They looked gleeful, demented. I could see right down their throats, which seemed odd given the lack of detail their mouths usually show. And yes, I'm going to address that message you saw in the picture. Why won't you die? I don't know why. Am I supposed to? Who's asking? I let the giant boos touch me and they all died like bleeding bills, in which I encountered 2 of. Despite any attempt to scare the player, I knew that being invincible meant invincible no matter what they threw at me. After a while of running down this strange claustrophobic corridor with no more eventful happenings, I came to a room with an exit pipe. Taking the pipe downward, I came out to the other end and dropped into a room filled with water. The water made sense because this was being a sunken castle beneath the whirlpool and all. I was rewarded for my troubles with a question mark block that released a mushroom for me. I could have easily done this with a cheat code, But the thought had escaped me as I faced all these new and strange sights. The first creatures I encountered in the underwater portion of the castle were thwomps. Unless you've been living under a rock like Patrick Star since the mid-80s, you know that thwomps are stone-like square creatures that hang from the ceiling and fall whenever you come near them. They try to crush you, essentially. Well, these thwomps, lined up in a tight row, dropped repeatedly and randomly with no real trigger or any sense of logic. They would just wait or drop whenever they seemed to feel like it. It also looked like these thwomps had been very successful thwomps. More cartoony blood. This was getting pretty unusual for the Mario Bros. Franchise, which I haven't recalled seeing blood at all. Now that I've seen it being used 3 times, the bloody bills, the messages, and these perpetually smashing grinding thwomps who are working their quote victims, whoever it is, into pulp forever. In the hampering effects of the water, I slowly walked under these things, making sure they all died, every single one touching me and dying. There were almost like 3 of them in a row. The sight of them mindlessly crushing over and over again just made me hate them with a unsettling intensity. What's weird is that the blood caused Mario to slide as he were on an ice level. After walking through the gauntlet of depravity, I swam into a more open area that was filled with spikes on the floor and ceiling. It was difficult to swim in this matter without touching the spikes, but since I was invulnerable, I didn't think about much of it. I avoided them more for fun than out of any sense I'd be damaged. It stopped being fun really fast enough though. Now I knew there was something going on though. The bloody mess the thwomps were unendingly spattering. It was other Marios. Past Marios that had tried to traverse this level and failed. I had to admit, this was an excellent touch. Even if it was a bit ghoulish, whoever had designed this map had actually broken the 4th wall and showed you the bloated, motionless abortions of the player's own careless treatment of Mario's tiny life. The bodies only float straight up and down a little bit, as to show the effects of a light current. It was genius. I couldn't believe I might be the first and only person to ever see this. I toyed with the idea of taking more than one screenshot as I just presented to you. Basically, so all of you reading this can enjoy the secret map as much as I had. Especially with this weird little touch. But without swimming, without kicking or moving in any way, the dead Marios started to come at me like torpedoes. Their faces remained blank and blue and dead. But they moved with astounding speed. They angled and positioned and worked in all sorts of unique trajectories that left me almost nowhere to move. They continued coming at me and swarming and backing up to try again, and I just couldn't bring myself to let them touch me. I moved with more speed and skill than I ever exerted, frantically trying to keep Mario free of the drowning victims that seemed dead set on rocketing straight to him. When I finally reached the purple exit pipe you see above, there had been 10 of those things right behind me, pitching, turning, and chasing me. I entered the pipe as fast as I could, thankful that it worked properly and Mario had gotten out of that situation in a heartbeat. The corridor that followed was empty, thankfully. It was just a blue underwater hallway of sorts, with nothing to avoid or kill. It was boring and predictable like the game had been all these years, which brought me back a sense of safety. At the end of the hallway, I came to a standard pair of doors when you entered to face the final boss. Besides the doorway, a mushroom power-up. I didn't touch that shit though. Going through the door as you would expect, the typical change of map views occurred and Mario was standing on a ubiquitous bridge over boiling lava. Or had been blood all along? When Mario walked out of the bridge, however, there was no boss creature. Instead, Mario just immediately looked to the side and froze. I couldn't control him anymore. He just stood up there. Keep looking until you see it. I didn't even see it at first, so I don't expect you to notice it right away. If you haven't spotted the thing, just look in the third window from the left. FYI, that's not usually there. Mario seemed to regain his composure and looked back and forth, slowly surveying the room. There was still no boss. I still couldn't control him, so I stopped trying and just watched. This went on and on for what looked like forever. Nothing happened. Then a familiar face walked in from the right, dressed in green, tall, and angry. It was Luigi. Mario recoiled in horror, as it was difficult to say that without thinking of how crazy it sounds, but Mario really reeled back in this sort of terror that was so uncharacteristic for such a happy-go-lucky mascot like him. Then, Luigi spoke. You thought Bowser worked alone. It was all connecting now. The messages scrawled on the walls, I hate you and why won't you die? Luigi, it was Luigi. He had always been Mario's second banana. The player 2, if you will. The one that doesn't get Princess Peach in these early games. No matter how identical he is to Mario in skill set, ability, and the tenacious and bravery, at the end of the day, the game is just called Super Mario Brothers. He's just the brother. Oh, how he must have hated Mario. Who among us wouldn't? Think about it. No matter what happens, Mario always comes back. No matter how many corpses he leaves littering the battlefield, he's always coming back for one more leap and cheer and getting all the adoration. And Koopa's never worked alone. I didn't know what that meant at first. If anything, you just have to think of this, though. How exactly did King Bowser consistently succeed in kidnapping Princess Peach? From day one, from the original Super Mario Bros. Onward, it had always been an inside job. Still unable to control the character, I watched Mario just simply cower in fear as Luigi jumped high in the air. As high as he could in Super Mario Bros. 2, the bastard child of the franchise. He jumped on the pathetic weeping Mario again and again and again. I was powerless to stop it. When he was done, he seems to look at Mario's limp body with this overwhelming rage. Then the bridge started to disappear. Soon Mario would be dead. As I looked on, I had an irrational thought. What would be permanent? Within an instant, as Luigi turned to seemingly strike a victory pose, like he beat the level, Mario awkwardly got up to his feet and took him by surprise. Fear and sadness and confusion had given way to anger, and Mario overpowered his brother with little effort. To this day, I'm still haunted by the final result of his wrathful reprisal. There was the map's title. None of this was a glitch. None of it was a mistake. It wasn't a developer trying to get back at Nintendo for revenge, and it wasn't a ghost haunting a Nintendo cartridge. It was a planned, purposeful part of the Super Mario Bros. Mythos. If you beat the same level X number of times, a secret part of the world opens, and you learn that from Mario Bros. Through Mario Land, Luigi had secretly been working against you, and was in fact facilitating the repeated abduction and abuse of the princess. But why? Money? Power? No, it was all there. Because he couldn't take not being the one in the spotlight. Not being Mario himself. After Luigi died, well and truly died, Mario just sat on the edge of the bridge and cried. I was forced to watch this for minutes on end before the screen fades to black. I played the rest of the game through to see if anything changed. Nothing else happened, as one would expect since this whole ordeal was just supposed to be part of the actual full story. I couldn't access the whirlpool again. I'd seen the events once, and that was all I was apparently allowed to see. It was back to the game as usual, the same exact game I played since the 1990s, and would probably continue to play for the rest of my days. Well, it was, except for the final image. Well, that was a pretty interesting creepypasta. Now, this is one of those creepypastas that kinda doesn't have much blood cliche in it, except for like the things like the scrawl messages, the bleeding Bill, and the blood from that were being caused by the thwomps crushing the previous victims. Aside from that, this was a pretty good creepypasta, and like it kind of makes legitimate sense because Luigi is the player 2, if you will, like because Mario is always the leader in the games. But the question is, what if this actually was part of the real game? I mean, sure, I understand it's a creepypasta, but the cool thing is, like, because this creepypasta is one of those creepypastas to get so much recognition, like, similar to, like, Sonic.exe, Mario, all caps, and The Untold Story of Timothy, those three, along with Super Mario World I Hate You, all have something in common as that the people, the creepypasta fan base, will try to make their best replication of how the story would go. Like, I really feel bad for why Luigi is jealous in this story. Like, because, like, if you go back and look at all the footage, you could probably understand why Luigi's mad. Because, like, just because you're, like, the brother doesn't mean you have to be jealous and have to get revenge on Mario. I'm also quite surprised that this is a game that actually now has, like, you can actually play this game, like, for yourself. Like, there's 2 versions of it. Like, there's the one that kind of has better quality on SMW Central. And then there's the one that kind of has the proper ending picture by Gangel, which isn't as, like, high quality because the Marios that are dead do not, like, float and follow you, but the bleeding bills go extremely fast and you just go right through it. What do you think would make this creepypasta better? This is Jeffrey Sambursky, and I'm saying I am out.